Hey everyone, welcome to another awesome episode of the Career Evangelist podcast. I'm so happy for today's show because I have another awesome guest with me. I have Reuben Mattinson. Reuben is into Forex trading, and he has devoted 10 years of his life studying the ins and outs of Forex trading. So for me, Forex trading, I know nothing about it, but that makes it good because we have an expert with us today. Reuben has built a multi-million dollar global e-commerce consultancy business. And we are going to also hear about that. So if you want to take your business online in form of e-commerce, you are going to want to listen to this. Also, Reuben has partnered and donated over $1.5 million to Hope for Justice. And this is an organization that fights against sex trafficking and modern day slavery. So that's a good cause, my friend Reuben. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in my guest, Reuben. Hey, Reuben, what's up?
Hey, Bola. Really great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so during our chat, I told you that I just came back from the UK, and I know you are from, maybe you live in Sheffield. I want you to introduce yourself to my audience so that they can get to know who you are, what you do, and what they are going to learn from you today.
Okay, no pressure. Well, here goes nothing. Yeah, I'm based here in the UK in Sheffield. I've been based in the UK my whole life. I kind of lived a little bit further up north in a beautiful area called the Lake District, where you've got some amazing scenery. But I moved down to Sheffield originally to do my first degree, which was physical therapy, as you call it over there in the States, but physiotherapy here in the UK, just because I wanted to kind of work with people. I loved science, particularly biology. And then I actually moved into being a high school science teacher up to kind of college level for several years, did private tutoring, did lots of lecturing in schools, kind of motivational talking, kind of led a lot of youth group, voluntary youth work. So always loved working with people, helping people, but always had kind of a burning passion and desire for just entrepreneurship, of kind of generating wealth, doing business. So kind of while that was going on in the background, I was always working on what I can do, to utilize my strengths, my time, how you can generate wealth. And Forex trading for me was one of my first kind of fascinations and hobbies that I started to learn about, and did countless hours, countless attempts at developing different, expert advisors and softwares that can trade the market, trying loads of different strategies and systems, working with loads of different people, losing a lot of money, making a lot of mistakes, and kind of finding myself where I am today. But also along that journey as well, I opened my, e-commerce consultancy business, which you mentioned, which I grew kind of just out of my bedroom to a multi-million-dollar company over a few years. We have about 20 staff members now, all here based in the UK. Really great company. We're kind of in the top 15 in consultancy companies on Trustpilot in the UK. So we've got a really good rating, doing some good stuff. So yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, I'm passionate about helping people. I'm passionate about entrepreneurship. I'm passionate about transparency, doing things right. And even if people aren't to kind of invest in my fund particularly, I'd love to think that people would at least kind of get some advice and wisdom on how to avoid a lot of the rubbish and scams that are out there by kind of speaking to me and hearing me out today.
Oh, that's good, Ruben, and thank you very much for that intro. I think I share some background with you. You were a science teacher, even though I did not teach science. Science was one of my favorite subjects while in school. You also, maybe you did some motivational talk with your some groups of youth. I enjoy that. And the main motivation for me for starting this podcast was to help people, in terms of maybe how to generate wealth, how to start their businesses if they want to go the entrepreneurship route. So that's very good. So I want to hear from you, why Forex? What's led you into exploring that field as a means of building wealth?
Yeah, well, I think I was initially kind of just taken back by the concept and idea that I could potentially automate a system which could, crunch data, find repeatable patterns, use indicators to make money in the Forex market without me actually having to be in front of a screen all day, every day. And, even more excitingly, being able to even make money while I'm asleep. Like, the whole concept of that was ridiculously exciting. And I know people talk about that all the time, and passive opportunities, but I knew that's what Forex was capable of. I think I went into it a bit naively at the start. Well, very naively 10 years ago when I first went into it, thinking, it'll be a walk in the park, it'll be easy, so on. And, man, I had to be smashed down so many times, and, I had to kind of pick myself up so many times. But that was kind of initially what sparked my interest, I guess.
Oh, that's good. And I do understand what you meant by you were smashed down, because I know for sure that Forex trading is not without some risk. And maybe you were talking about those risks and maybe possibly losing some money in the process, which I also experienced. I trade stocks from time to time, and I've lost some money in the process, but the secret is also learning how to get back up, how to, know the mistakes you've made and learning from those mistakes, so that you keep moving forward. And I think that was what you did. So tell us about your Forex trading fund. How do you help people? Do you teach them how to maybe pick dollar versus euro or pound or whatever currency the case may be? Maybe there's someone out there listening to us right now. How can they start, or how do you bring them into your portfolio? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of companies out there, and a lot of people and individuals who kind of put themselves on a pedestal as Forex educators, people who teach you about Forex, teach you strategies. I have to come out and say straight off the bat, 99% of them are absolute just I don't want to, I guess, scammers to some extent, but just selling a dream. Actually, they're not profitable themselves. There's no substance in what they're doing. So I'm actually not in the educational space. What we're in is we're just in the fund space. So we are what's called an alternative investment fund. We come under an FCA regulated management firm in the UK. So we're set up fully to be a fund. And our fund works like your typical fund. People would invest their money in, and it's a passive opportunity. People put their money in, we trade that money, and we hopefully make profit. What's exciting about our system is not only that people don't have to do anything once they've invested in it, they can just sit there and kind of let us do the heavy lifting. But firstly, we don't make any profit unless our clients make profit. So we don't charge any management fee, we don't charge any upfront fee. We don't even make any commission or cut from the trading volume. We just ask for the commissions to be as low as possible for our clients. So if we don't make profit for our clients, we don't actually make any profit. So I think that sets us aside. But our system itself is fascinating, Bola, to be honest. It's been built upon many different currency pairs. I know you started to talk about a few. And in the Forex market, in the retail space, you're trading the movement of one currency against another. So say the British pound against the US dollar, or the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. And you're trading these currency pairs. So we trade 16 different currency pairs. So we're incredibly diversified in the pairs that we're trading. But not only that, we trade 3 different strategies for each of the pairs. So that's 3 times 18, which, if you do the math, is a lot of strategies, looking at 54 different strategies which are being traded. And actually, the system itself is automated. So there's no humans sitting in there trying to crunch all the figures on the spot, trying to put their human intuition into it, which can work. But I found from my experience, human emotion typically becomes a barrier when it comes to trading, because of you know, where your headspace is at, or if you're chasing losses, if you're being greedy off this fear. So what our system does is it basically just tries to recognize repeatable patterns in the market, like in harmonics and price action. And it uses different indicators and filters to filter out volatility and tries to target and jump into the market at the most ideal time. So it's a very complex algorithm, and you see a lot of people talking about algorithms in the Forex space as well, and trading bots, as people would say, you know, AI and trading by this, you know, online trading system. Again, it's 99.9% garbage. Like, if someone has a system which actually works, they're not going to be selling it online. They're going to be using it in a hedge fund or in a fund like we are, or they're just going to be trading it themselves. So we have some incredibly exciting software. We try and keep the initial investment very low for people to get involved. Currently, it's only £1,000 minimum for people to jump in. And we try and make it accessible and easy for people. We do have some limitations of the countries that we can take in as a fund. Frustratingly, we can't take the US at the moment, even though we're sitting, you know, talking over in Texas, because US and security laws are one of a kind. How you guys do things, you're very protective of your citizens, and obviously we're based here in the UK, but we can take people in Canada, we can take people all over the world, actually, in nearly every other country. You know, we have lots of ways for people to get involved.
Oh, wow. So yeah, that was going to be my next question in terms.
Sorry to break your heart there,
Yeah,
brother.
yeah.
Sorry, I know you were getting ready to jump in.
Maybe this is something I could explore further, but no, that makes sense. I know the US, there are quite a number of regulations that they put
Yeah,
in place to protect the citizens, but you still have help other countries in the world, and I have over 70 countries all around the world that listen to my podcast. So
amazing.
majority of my listeners, they are here in the US, but that's still okay. Let's talk about that minimum entry requirement. You said £1,000 is the minimum to get into your fund. I want to hear from you first. How long have you been doing this? That's one. Then second, what has been the returns maybe in the past 1 or 2 years?
Yeah, great question. So, firstly, the system and algorithm which we've developed has been, before I talk about the forward testing and the results, it's been back tested as well. So just want to make that clear. So when we developed it, we put it through the last 10 years of real market data on all of those pairs that we've traded. And we saw what would have this system have done if it had traded the last 10 years. And we also did this really kind of clever form of analysis called Monte Carlo analysis, where you basically reorder all of the trades that have happened the last 10 years, opportunities.
Carlo, I did some stuff.
Yeah.
That's
And delete random trades as well. So you create all of these, you know, alternate realities of what could have played out. And then we kind of worked off there the average Monte Carlo analysis of what could have took place. And from that, we were getting gains of over 100% a year on average over the 10 years. So that was the back test. Obviously, back tests aren't perfect indicators of future gains, but it's helpful. And then the forward test, basically the last 12, we have 12 months of history so far, and we've done 36% gain in the last 12 months at a drawdown of 15%. And drawdown is really important to look at, obviously, because you want to know how much my balance could have dipped before it ever recovered. And we think 15% is, you know, pretty good for a Forex fund. So 36%. But the interesting thing is the kind of final version of this software that I've talked about was only completed and added in a couple of months ago. So actually we suspect in the next 12 months coming that our gains will be better than the 36% that we've had in the last 12 months. And there was a few times in the 12 months we actually paused the system while we were updating it. So it's good, but we expect it to be better. Obviously, we can't promise that in any shape or form, but that's roughly what we're looking at as of today.
Yeah, no, that's good. I must also highlight, you said your fund is FCA regulated. I do not know about FCA. I'm suspecting that that's some body or organization that is specific to the UK. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, is the UK equivalent really of the SEC over in the US. We as a fund aren't classed as being FCA regulated yet, but we come under a fund manager who are FCA regulated, which is why we can function as a fund in the UK. So they obviously oversee us and make sure we're doing everything right. And that's where we're currently positioned.
Okay. You know what? I like what you said about that greed and fear. And that affect me in my trading all the time. You think, oh, maybe I
Yeah.
can make more. Maybe I can make more. And you keep waiting until maybe the pattern reverse, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
lose money and you don't know, oh, should I get out or should I stay in? That's a difficult thing for human emotion to manage. But with your system, using all this computer algorithm, I believe they do not have emotion. You just set your limit and maybe you filter and maybe you do the trading. And that's a good thing for people to know. Now, I also want to hear from you. What, in your experience, what are some best practices that someone needs to adopt while trading Forex?
Yeah. So I would say these best practices can be applied manually or automatically, depending if you program an automated system like we've done. But I would say first and foremost, you need to have a tried and tested strategy. So never just go into the market and feel it out. Oh, the chart feels quite high right now, so I'm going to sell it, or it feels at a low time, I'm going to buy it. Have predetermined criteria that you enter a trade on, whether it's indicator based, support and resistance based, supply and demand, whatever. Have a preset kind of determined list and test it. So first, have tested it on a demo account, for a good period of time. So that's number one. Number two, I would say having a stop loss on every single trade is paramount to being disciplined and consistent. It's very easy to keep trades floating for huge periods of time, like it's going to swing back around and recover. That isn't this type of trading. It's not how it should be done. Yes, you could buy a stock and leave it for years and hope it recovers. Forex trading isn't like that. It's highly leveraged. It's relatively small movements in the market. So our system, for example, has a predetermined stop loss of like no higher than 2%. And if it hits it, it hits it. We may have to wait another week for a high quality trade to be opened, but that's what's happened. And we aim as well, really importantly, to have, and this is very important, to have a higher gain than risk. So to have a risk to reward ratio in our favor. So we aim to trade really at kind of a 1 to 2.5. So say if we were losing 2%, we would aim to gain about 5% when we hit our take profit. And then I would just kind of throw in there as well, and this can be manual or automated, I would say kind of managing a trade is fairly important as well, because you can enter a trade and then all of the indicators that initially showed it a good time to enter can reverse on you. And if you know what you're looking for, you can cut your losses or cut your profits at a good time. So our automated system actually does that. It has 5 different dynamic exit strategies, which are based on following how the market is changing as the trade is running as well. And I think that's quite an important part. Then instead of just opening a trade and leaving it if it hits take profit or stop loss, there needs to be some management. However, when that isn't pre-programmed and you're trying to do that manually as a person, that is a very, very hard task to ask, because again, you're having to kind of try and stick to very kind of set parameters and not let your emotion come in, like, oh, I kind of just want to close it because I've got a bit of profit, or oh, it's kind of in loss, I better quickly close it because I'm scared. So you've got to go in with those parameters of being statistical parameters and indicators, not emotional kind of managing a trade, which is very easy to do. So that would be my short lowdown. And obviously that all plays into discipline at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about discipline. now, when we started, you mentioned some scams that people need to watch out for. Do you want to touch more on that? Maybe specific scams that people need to watch out for. I know there are several companies out there, they will overpromise that, hey, bring in your money, you make 1,000,000% or something like that.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about those scams?
Yeah. Well, I would say the first one to watch out for is educators that we touched on. I think if you are really as good a trader as you say you are, you would be either trading yourself or you'd be trading a fund. You wouldn't just be teaching people to do it.
Right.
So I would ignore basically all educators, as crazy as that sounds. I wouldn't ignore all education, but I would ignore educators who are telling you this is the way to trade. Unless you know that they have 100% proven track record, like you've seen proven record, which is under regulation, or say a MyFX book page, which tracks Forex, and you know 100% that they have it. But I don't know of any out there who have those records, and it doesn't surprise me because I don't believe them anyway. And then you've got people who do signals, which, well, I'll post you my trade that I might take, and it's up to you whether you take it or not. Again, that's people just kind of saying, well, I'm not going to come under any regulation, and I'm not actually going to put any real money on the line here. I'm going to make money whether you lose that trade or not because you're paying me for these signals. Again, a load of rubbish. And then you've got the kind of next step in of people who would then be trading your money in PAM accounts or managed accounts. And at that point, you need to be very careful. Firstly, that they are under some regulation, where the trading is regulated. The broker is regulated, or the trades are happening. Where your money is stored, it's under a regulated place. Because again, people like brokers which aren't regulated and places where your money isn't regulated, they can say your money's there and it isn't really, and they're just churning money out. Or they can say trades are happening and they're not actually happening. People are just faking trades as they go along to make results look good. And I would say just proof that the trade has happened as well, that there's proof of the history of the trading for that company. But it is so hard to find a good opportunity in the retail Forex space because it just lends itself to kind of a get rich quick scheme mentality where people just see people getting rich or making lots of money or perceiving like they're making lots of money, and they're just like, tell me, how do you do that? Like, quickly tell me, how do I make more money? And they jump in. So yeah, just be careful of all those things that I've said. And like, for an example, how our fund does it is a registered fund. Number one, it's under an FCA regulated management company. The broker we use is regulated by large financial institutions. Where the money is stored, we don't hold anyone's money. It's stored in a regulated place, and we give proof of all of our trades. And we have a year's worth of history, which is really good. So please watch for those signs. And if someone is selling you an automated system like I'm talking about, and they're just selling you it for a few $100s, if it was a system that worked and had any long-term potential, they wouldn't be selling it to you. And these systems which people sell online, they're typically using very dangerous trading styles, like martingale, like they're doubling the trades when they lose a trade to try and make it back quickly, or they're doing what's called grid trading. When the trade goes in the wrong direction, they keep opening another trade and hoping that it reverses. Then maybe not using stop losses so often on their trades. So you want to look at the style of trading that's happening as well. So it's a lot to look for. You've got to really do your due diligence. You've got to be really careful if you want to be safe in this space. And they say clever people learn from their own mistakes, but wise people learn from other people's mistakes. So please listen to this. Don't just be clever, be wise. Learn from my mistakes when I've invested in things over the 10 years which didn't cover those things. And I wish I hadn't. And I wish I'd done more due diligence and I lost money. Learn from me. Don't lose your own money.
Oh, that's so good, Reuben. So quickly, let's touch on your e-commerce business, RJM Tax Consulting, right? What do you do? Maybe some of my audience, if they want to learn more and see.
Yeah, of course.
So can you please touch on that?
Yeah. So we are rjmtaxexemption.com. You can find us online. We're a 5-star Trustpilot company. You can look up all of our reviews there. Hundreds of 5-star reviews. Hand on heart, I've never paid for a review or incentivized it. They're all real people, I promise. But as a company, what we do is we firstly help people to be what's called sales tax compliant. So if you're selling products online in the States, you've got all of the different states with all of their different rules, all of the different thresholds. And we just make sure you can sell to every single state and have total peace of mind that you are covered as far as whether you needed to collect sales tax and pay it back or not, and whether you're legally set up to sell. We do monthly bookkeeping on the sales tax side of things as well. So we can do your sales tax filing, look after you there. We can do your initial US company formation, get your EIN, kind of initial tax ID. And if you're an international who's not in the US but wants to sell in the US, we help internationals move in to be able to sell in the US by setting them up a US company and a tax ID and a US bank account and get them sales tax compliant, get them a US address and mailing address. So we do all of that as well. So we kind of encompass a lot of things. We have our own software as well that we've developed that plugs into e-commerce platforms like Amazon and Shopify and kind of pulls and crunches the data so we can track when you are crossing certain thresholds, when you're selling in certain states. So some states say, like, if you only sell 200 products to a state, that means you've triggered what's called nexus and you should be collecting sales tax and paying it back to them. So we have a software that tracks all of that for people. And we are much cheaper than your typical competitors that you see out there. And we're kind of a much more personal touch and high quality service and team as well.
Oh, that's so good. And I think that's going to be an essential service for people because all these task laws and regulations, they are so complex and complicated.
Yeah.
Don't know about them. So that's very good. Now, if people want to reach out to you, connect with you, learn from you, know more about what you are doing, how can they find you, Reuben?
Yeah, of course. So I would say, firstly, if you're interested in our fund, you can go to pullitrading.com, which is PULI trading.com. That's our fund. And you can reach us on that website, create a support ticket, reach us at support@pullitrading.com if you have any questions. And then also you can go to our consultancy site, rjmtaxexemption.com. Same thing, create a support ticket or contact us at support@rjmtaxexemption.com. We've got great teams on both sides of things. We have a live Zoom call, which typically goes out every 2 weeks for Pulley Trading as well, which talks about the fund, how you can get involved, how you could even be an introducer of the fund as well, and kind of introduce people to it. And yeah, there's other bits and bobs of me online as well. You'll probably find me on YouTube, find the companies on YouTube, find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to track me down, and I'm sure I'd love to be able to speak to anyone who reaches out if I get the chance to as well.
Awesome. So finally, I always let my guests motivate my audience. Okay. And the good thing now is that you are also into motivating. People that will be listening to the podcast, they will not see what you are wearing, but your shirt says change. I love that word, but most people, we all know that change is not always comfortable, right? I want you to maybe, if you can talk about change, to use it to motivate people, or just anything that you want to come up with, just to motivate people. And here's what I want. Tell them that, hey, if they want to build their life, they are working professionals, some of them are entrepreneurs, they want to have more money, they want to create a life that they will enjoy. So what can you tell them in 1 minute, Reuben?
I love that. I love this opportunity. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to do this. Yeah, I'd say for me, there's two types of people, or people fall into two categories in life when it comes to moving and changing and growing. And I think there's the category of people who, when they hit a roadblock and they hit an issue and whatever they're trying to do in life, whether it's starting a business, trying to be successful investing, they hit a roadblock and they see it as, oh, this is the universe's way, or this is God's way of telling me I shouldn't be doing this, And obviously there's times when if people are just doing something ridiculously wrong, fair enough. But typically, you know, you're trying to do the right thing. You've not done anything wrong, and you've just hit a roadblock, and you're being unsuccessful. A lot of people would think, "Oh, I should stop now," or I can't take this failure anymore. I can't take this anymore. I'm going to cut my losses. There's those type of people, and then there's the only other option of people in my head who are the people when they hit that roadblock, they think, well, either this is a waste of my time now, or I'm going to take this, I'm going to learn from it, I'm going to grow from it, I'm going to keep moving forward. And for me, that was always the case. As I mentioned, 10 years isn't a short amount of time to get to this point of releasing this fund. And I had so many roadblocks along the way where, you know, I was like, oh, I've just lost this money, I could give up now, or I've wasted all this time, I could give up. But I had to think, well, now I've made that mistake, I know I shouldn't do that again. And I'm now stronger because of it. And I feel like the real lessons in life that we learn are when we feel true loss and true pain. Because often, you know, I touched on we you know, can learn from other people's mistakes. The sad reality is most of the time we only learn from our own mistakes, and we've felt the pain, we've felt the hurt. So instead of just feeling the pain and hurt and feeling sorry for yourself, think, well, actually, this is the one time I can actually learn and move on, because I don't want to feel that again. And I know what to not do in the future to not feel that again. So that would be kind of my nutshell. I also have a proverb up on my office wall, Proverbs 13:11. It says, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but those who gain little by little will increase it. And for me, that's just a reminder, there's no shortcut to success. There's no shortcut to financial gain. And when you look for shortcuts, that's when you're going to lose your money. When you try to make money too quickly, that's when you're going to lose it. When you try to trade the market too hastily, that's when you're going to lose it. But if you apply true patience over time, that's when you'll increase it. So that's my little lot.
That is so good, Reuben. I love it. I love it. Thank you very much. This is awesome. So, guys, we have come to the end of this show. Reuben Mattinson has been on the call with me for the past 30 minutes. It's been awesome. Please, guys, check out this episode. Go to his website. I'm going to leave all his links in my show notes so that you guys can connect with him. Thank you, Reuben. It's been awesome. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
All right.